Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Who put Alec Baldwin back to work? California's The Mercury News addressed the question I think many of us have been pondering ever since we heard the PR experts pontificating on Baldwin's sincerity or lack of, and whether him working on another low-budget flick so soon after Rust was a good move. There's also questions, is he the producer? What is his role in this particular film? And who gave him the job, and what exactly is this new film all about? Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So, according to the Mercury News, quote, not a lot is known about Baldwin's little project, according to the Hollywood Reporter and IMDb. It's not listed on Baldwin's IMDb page. The Hollywood Reporter said the film is called 97 Minutes, and the IMDb plot summary said it's about a hijacked 767 that will crash in 97 minutes when its fuel runs out. The article goes on to say that the characters include an undercover Interpol agent that is posing as one of the hijackers, and NSA officials have got to decide whether to shoot the plane down. Again, it's not known what part Baldwin plays or if he's involved as a producer, as he was with Rust. I do think it's quite interesting from a narrative perspective that you have one film that is ultimately about a shooting, and then the next film is about shooting an entire plane down. It seems kind of gratuitous. Anyway, I managed to find a little more about it. First of all, there's a trailer out for a short film that came out in 2014. I'll put a link to the trailer in the description. And on IMDb, I found a storyline for the 2014 film which seems to be broadly similar, plot-wise, to this 2022 iteration. In other words, this kind of feels like a remake or a reboot. According to IMDb, quote, three perfect strangers, a selfless flight attendant, an overworked lawyer, and a down-and-out paramedic go about a normal day when a single action turns their lives, and theirs spelt wrongly, upside down and puts their seemingly separate stories on a collision course, converging on the moment that defined this generation. Now, I don't know if that is the same movie, but the movie involving the flight attendant obviously does involve an aeroplane. So it could be that these are completely different and they just share the name, or it's possibly a reboot. We just don't know. But if it is a reboot, what role do you think Baldwin is playing? The selfless flight attendant, the overworked lawyer, or a down-and-out paramedic? I'm putting my chips on the overworked lawyer. Of course, Baldwin has portrayed the role of a lawyer before. What we do know for certain is that the director appears to be Finnish, according to the Mercury News. Quote, the brief IMDb biography of the director, Timo Vuorensola, said that he's an actor, director, and the lead singer and songwriter for a Finnish experimental industrial band called Alamisto. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Vuorensola, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, notably has directed films in the Star Trek series, a collection of Finnish Star Trek parody movies. End quote. According to what Baldwin said on Instagram recently, he'll be working on 47 minutes for quote-unquote a few days, then is returning to New York and his family. I like the turn of phrase in the Mercury News article where there's a little critical examination of Baldwin's statements versus what we already know. Again, quoting from the article, who knows what the future brings? I hope good things, Alec Baldwin said. Actually, Baldwin knows that his immediate future involves his special guest appearance at the Boulder International Film Festival in early March. End quote. Indeed. The Hollywood Reporter also made the comment that Baldwin's repeated references to young crew may have been a broad defense for his own production, hiring the youthful and controversial Hannah Gutierrez-Reed as armorer. And of course, there's also somebody else hired in a kind of similar role in the form of Sarah Zachary. I think the answer to the question, who put Alec Baldwin back to work, is really Alec himself, isn't it? How long he will remain working and also in the public's good graces is perhaps another question. So I'm not going to take it further than that. We are almost halfway through February, and there hasn't really been much noise from law enforcement. We haven't really heard much from the legal side in terms of the Rust incident. And one wonders when that is going to be settled or resolved in some way. For those who are new to this channel, this is obviously a true crime channel, and we are heading quite quickly to a pretty big court case in Colorado, the trial of Barry Morphew. He's charged with the murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. She's been missing since Mother's Day, May 10, 2020. In the last couple of episodes, I've been covering his wife's final text messages, and I'm going to be putting up an episode quite soon just dealing with where we stand in the legal sense. Which counsel, is the prosecution winning the case, is the defense winning the case? And this case is going to trial towards the end of April, so quite soon. I'll obviously be covering every trial day the same way that I did with the Patrick Frazee case. And so if you're interested in trial coverage, this does look like it's going to be quite an interesting court case. The defense is a sort of elite defense team. It feels like they are really throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the prosecution. It does look like it's going to be quite an interesting legal battle. Then just a reminder, there's a members-only discussion every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the final chapter, the final episode of Vincent van Gogh, where he spent these last 2 months of his life in Auvers-sur-Oise. It's an area I've visited. I've written a book about Vincent van Gogh, and I'm now going through an art expert sort of research narrative on that last period, that last season of Van Gogh's life. He apparently painted 70 artworks in 70 days. And so every Wednesday we're examining that narrative and trying to determine whether the mainstream narrative about Vincent van Gogh's death is reasonable and accurate, and is it true. There are already about 30 members in that, and obviously because there's a fairly small amount of people, it's quite easy for me to engage with you guys, see your questions, and for us to interact during these live discussions. So if you'd like to do that, it's every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.